Hello, my name is Sean Holt. You rated my favorite books 1 star. Prepare to die. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be reacting to 1 star ratings and reviews of my favorite books, beginning with The Princess Bride by William Goldman. Now, if you've rated this book 1 star, there is something wrong with you. You have terrible judgment. But let's get into it. This one says, I found myself extremely bored with The Princess Bride. The characters were very unlikable, the pacing was slow, filler descriptions, blah blah blah. I had to watch the film in high school and it was a huge disappointment. You got to watch The Princess Bride in high school rather than doing actual work. You got to watch a movie, The Princess Bride of all things, and you did not like it? I bet your classmates just loved you. You were probably the type of person to remind the teacher that there was a test due that day. This one's kind of funny. I wrote a 1-star review for this almost 9 years ago when I was 13. Please ignore this. Crying face. Okay, this one says, it was very just wrong how discriminating he was against women. He made sure we all understood just how stupid women are and that they can't do anything themselves. Also, according to him, we're all unloyal, backstabbing prats who are flippant and immature enough to go off and be stupid. I hate Wesley. Well, there you go, being stupid. He does not love Buttercup. He is a terrible person who is rude to her. He basically came out and told her she was stupid. And then, I'm sorry, but I am very indignant about this part here. It made me so mad when I read it, I actually threw the book across the room. Well, look who's being immature. Okay, so Buttercup, who married the prince because she would rather live than die, was slapped. Yep, you read that right. Wesley slapped Buttercup because, according to him, women who make mistakes, deciding to live rather than die in Buttercup's case, get punished. I'm sorry, but no. William Mr. Goldman are not property, and I won't appreciate you putting that little snippet in your abridged book. Also, the whole abridged version is so dumb. Okay guys, so get this. Morgenstern? Yeah, that is a pen name. You know who is really Morgenstern? William Goldman. Yeah. This person thought that Morgenstern was a real person. They thought he was a real person. They thought that Morgenstern was a real person. They thought this was a true story. Here's another one. I wouldn't be surprised if devout fans of this book and movie hiss at my unfavorable review of The Princess Bride. Then it goes on. One of them at least provided a critical analysis of the book's structure, and it became clear to me that there is no S. Morgenstern, and that Goldman did not adapt this version from a more complete tale. I suspected that. Again, these people think the introduction is real. They think it was really written by this S. Morgenstern guy. This reviewer goes on and posts some quotes from the book, like this was after Mears, and this was before Europe, and this was after Paris. This was after Taste too, but only just. This was after Stew, but so is everything. And they say, and so on. I guess they're supposed to be funny. I'm not amused. I'm annoyed. I just don't get it. They must not have a sense of humor. To me, this is hilarious. This was one of my favorite parts of the book. This was after Mears. What? Europe does not exist, but Paris does, and just all this crazy stuff. And I just love that. That is why The Princess Bride by William Goldman is one of my favorite books of all time, because the humor, the sense of humor, is very much in line with my own. This is the type of book I feel that I would write. So I just love it. I love that part. Okay, now let's do The Sweet Hereafter by Russell Banks. This one says, This one seemed to have a lot of potential. The idea was good. The story was good, or it could have been. I hated the way it was written. I didn't like this fellow's style at all. None of the characters came off as especially likable or real or endearing or brave or anything. There was nothing stand out about the four people in the town chosen to narrate. Their story was sad, something stand out in itself. And perhaps that was meant to be the meat, but that was meant to be all that stood out. But I don't think so. I think it was meant to be the coping with the sad story and the story of the survivors. I thought it was written in a dumbed down style that I didn't approve of. I just don't agree. To me, The Sweet Hereafter was one of the most perfectly written books I've ever read. So I just love the writing. I love the storytelling. I love the characters. So it's not like the characters are really memorable in a way. It's just the writing is just so good. So I just completely disagree with this person. To me, it was a fabulously written book. This one says, in his attempt to write a philosophical novel, Russell Banks sacrificed blah, blah, blah. I'm going to have to stop you there. I don't think this is written to be like a philosophical novel. Like, I don't think this is written at all to be like a work of literary fiction or deep or meaningful or anything. To me, it's just a book that is well written. So yes, it has this sad story, but I don't think it's really meant to be too deep or thoughtful or anything. To me, it's just a good story. It's well written. It keeps you invested. I was invested in the story all the way through, so it's not like the story is just so great. This book, the whole like allure of it is the writing. The writing is the selling point of this book. So I just love that. So no, I do not think this is meant to be like some philosophical novel or some like great literary work. It's just a well-written book. So I think this person was just expecting too much. They're expecting it to be this deep, meaningful, philosophical book, and I don't think it's that. So not at all. So I just completely disagree with this person. This one says, I had to read this for a writing class. The book was bad. The class was bad. I tried to watch the movie, but it was too dull to get through. There just wasn't anything in the story worth reading about. So you were in a writing class and they wanted you to read this book. So to me, that tells me your writing teacher knew something. I mean, they had good selection. So good job for them. So the fact that you just didn't like it and you are not into the movie, I haven't seen the movie, I'm not really interested in the movie. The reason is because I can't see how the movie could like improve this book. I mean, to me, the book is perfect. There is no reason for a movie for this book. So I'm just not interested in that. But anyway, again, this person is just missing out so much. I don't know what's wrong with them. This one says, a horrible book that they make high school students read. A great way to make someone never want to pick up a book again. No beauty, no insight, no point. Schools, stop making kids read this. Your school had you read The Sweet Hereafter? Oh man, I wish I could have gone to that school. My school had me read books that were just, I don't even know the names. I just hated them. So your school wanting you to read The Sweet Hereafter, that's a good school. I like your school. I wonder if this person was in the writing class with the other person. Anyway, two good schools right there. Oh, here's another one. I read this book because it was assigned to my daughter's 11th grade English class. Why? Why couldn't that have been my school? Why couldn't my English class have recommended this book? I'd never heard of it, neither have I before I read the book, so I thought I'd check it out. Pretty boring. It's one of the best books ever written. I think it's beautiful. It's perfectly written. I feel sorry for the class. The only thing I feel sorry about is that I wasn't in that class. I will be interested to find out why the teacher likes this book for a classroom read. That is kind of a good point because, I mean, there is some stuff in the book. I mean, not only is the subject kind of grim in a way, but basically this is kind of a spoiler warning. So if you don't want that, oh crap, yeah, go ahead and skip ahead. So spoiler warning, one of the characters, he molests his daughter, or he molested his daughter in the past. So that is part of the story. So Yeah, I don't know if I would like have this for like grade school kids or high school even. So I don't know about that, but still, it's a great book. I loved it. Have schools changed since I went to them? Because here's another one. Forced to read it twice for class. Where are these classes that assign this book? I want to be in them. I really wanted to like it, but the fragmented voices reminded me too much of The Bright Forever, which does it better. The Bright Forever, huh? I may have to give that a try. They're books on a similar theme, tragedies involving children, and quite frankly, this one doesn't make the cut for me. Huh, interesting. I'm not interested at all in like that theme, but if the writing is anywhere comparable to this one, I'd be all over it. So I don't know. Depends on the writing, because that's the only reason I really like this book. This one says, I'm not inclined to finish this one. There's something overly arty about the writing that I'm not enjoying. Well, you just don't enjoy good things. This one says, see the movie. I would say read the book. It's one of the best written books, I think, of all time. It's just flawless. It's perfect. It's perfectly written, beautifully written. So go give it a read. Okay, and now we're going to another of my favorite books of all time. Eleanor, Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. And yes, this is a signed copy. I love that. So I just love this book so much. I love Eleanor. So let's see some reviews of people who did not like this book and did not like Eleanor. This one says, DNF. Read a few chapters, couldn't stand the characters, and the way the book is written was so pretentious and no one speaks like that in real life. Had to DNF. Well, you missed out on a great thing. So this review says, Eleanor has no grasp of the realities of 21st century British society. Here are two noteworthy examples that made me groan out loud. And then she goes on to describe this scene where Eleanor has her lady parts waxed, and then she kind of has a miscommunication because the person doing it is like, do you want a Brazilian or a whatever or whatever? And she doesn't know what that means, so she just says a certain one. And so then she finds out like she is completely bare and is like, I look like a child. Why did you do this to me? And she just flips out on the stylist or whatever you call them. And to me, I just love that because Eleanor is such a B word, but she doesn't really intend to be. But still, I just love Eleanor, and I just remember that scene, and I just love her. And I wouldn't like her in real life probably, because I mean she's just creepy and like mentally unstable and rude and a B word and all this stuff. But I just loved Eleanor. She was so unintentionally funny because it's like she goes to this place and she doesn't know what those are. And so when it's done to her, she gets mad at the person. So no, that isn't like a trait that I would admire in a person. But for Eleanor, I just liked it because it's like, it's not this stylist's fault. You told her what you wanted her to do and she did it. And anyway, so yeah, I understand Eleanor has some character issues, but that is why I loved her. So this reviewer goes on to say, like, the second reason, Eleanor goes shopping for a computer she can use to stalk said man. So again, this is a reason why I like her. She is a bit mentally unstable. So she has it in her mind that she's going to wind up with this like rock star dude. She's going to be his girlfriend or his wife maybe. And they're going to be lovers. And so this is also why she gets that bikini wax or whatever it's called. And so this just shows her like mental state, her delusion. She is crazy and she's messed up. And that's why I love her, because she is so weird and unintentionally funny. That is why I like Eleanor. This one says, I had a horrible time reading this book. I literally had to struggle for months to finish it. The reason behind it isn't exactly because I had a hard time comprehending what was going on, but mainly because I couldn't at any single instance feel related to Eleanor. So, no, this isn't a character where it's like, oh man, I relate with this woman. It's quite the opposite. It's like, I can see this woman is a disaster. She has issues. She is a B word. And that's why I like her. So it's not a character where it's like, oh, I really like this character. I relate with this character. This character sounds like me. No, that's not what this character is. But anyway, I love Eleanor. This one posts a bunch of trigger warnings. Trigger warnings for this book include blah blah blah. And then it goes on. Gail Honeyman, the author, is an opportunist who exploits socially awkward, traumatized, mentally ill, depressed, addicted, or all of the above people for her story without bothering to do any research into what it is even like to be someone dealing with such issues. She created this caricature of a character that is a gross exaggeration of what it is really like to be socially awkward and dealing with the issues from your past. Settle down, Karen. This one says, Eleanor was a completely unlikable and unrealistic character in my opinion. Socially awkward is one thing. Having a disability is one thing. I'm not even sure the character is supposed to be read as having Asperger's or something. It wasn't said. But this character was just ridiculous. She's educated and extremely well read, and yet she seems to know nothing about the world around her. It made no sense to me because even if she has legitimate social difficulties with her book knowledge and ongoing years of interacting with people, I don't understand why she did such outlandish things. Because Eleanor has issues, and in real life people have issues, and they may not have all of their issues figured out. All of their issues may not be diagnosed. There are crazy people in this world, and Eleanor is kind of one of them. These people just seem to think oh, if you like a character who is that somehow that is disrespectful, you're disrespecting people who are really disabled. And to me it's just give it a break, and it's a novel, and just have fun with it and enjoy it. Now we are going to go into my favorite book of all time, The City of Dreaming Books by Walter Moores. Before we get into that, would anyone like to see some video of my mom stuck behind a washer and dryer? If so, here you go.
You should be helping pull me. Sean Anthony, you are not funny. How do I get out of here? Sean, that's not funny. Can't come out butt first. You're not helping.
Okay, here we go. 1-star reviews of City of Dreaming Books. The best book of all time. The best book ever written. I'm finding my center. Okay, let's go. This one's kind of funny, but it says, Douglas Adams or Terry Pratchett, written by Madman. Mostly nothing happened, and what did happen made no sense. Also, I think all the characters were dinosaurs, which is weird. No, the main character, Optimus Yarnspinner, is a dinosaur. Yes, the other characters are not, but I think. But anyway, that's also what I love about this book, is the main character, Optimus Yarnspinner, is just like a dinosaur. Usually for fantasy books, it's either a man or an elf or a dwarf, but Walter Moores is nah, I'm gonna have my main character be a dinosaur in this city of just books. All of the city is just books, and the dinosaurs just love reading the books. It's just so wonderful to me. It's a world with fantastic creatures in every corner, and I just loved the City of Dreaming Books so much. So I loved it, and I love that the protagonist is a dinosaur. To me, that is funny, and it doesn't really affect the plot at all. I mean, you could read it just the same as if he's a regular person, but in the back of your mind, you have to remember he's actually a dinosaur. So I don't know, to me, it's just funny, and I love Walter Moores and the City of Dreaming Books. This one says, had to DNF after 292 pages. Things I liked about this book. The illustrations. Yes, the illustrations are great. The descriptions when Optimus first arrives in the city. Yes, also great. And yeah, that's it. Wrong. Everything else just wasn't it. It was incredibly boring and it felt like there was absolutely zero plot. So you find a manuscript. Great. It's cool. Great. You're looking for the author of said manuscript when you don't know S word about them. How are you ever going to find out anything about them or whatever? That is what the whole book is about. That is why he goes to this city book home, because he wants to find out who the author of this perfect manuscript is. And what better place to find out who the author is than a whole city built around books? And so what does he do? He goes around asking everyone if they know the author of this manuscript, and he contacts like literary agents and says like, hey, do you know this guy? Because I'm sure he's published before, because this manuscript he wrote is just great. So do you know where I could find this author? And that's the whole book, is trying to find out where this author is. That is the whole thing. And in the end, yes, you do find out who the author of this book is, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, yeah, so this person just wasn't patient. I do kind of agree with part of their thing. I mean, Walter Moore's writing can be difficult for me personally to get through. And like halfway through this book, there is a section of like, I don't know, 150 pages where the plot does seem to lose its way. But Walter Moore's does come back to it, so it's everything there is there for a reason. So you have to be patient. But yeah, this person just saying, how will they ever find this author? The whole book is about them trying to find the author. So obviously you're either not paying attention or you're just being deliberately stupid. This one says, should have been classified as YA. Lots of illustrations. Contains a chapter titled The Inbreeded Gorilla. I forget that. But you gave a book 1 star because you think it should be classified as YA? Like, why would you fault the author just because it was sorted probably in the library in a different section than you think it should go into? So that's just bizarre. Lots of illustrations. Is that part of why you gave it a 1 star? Or is that like a good thing? Because this next review said, just can't get into this one. Well, that's unfortunate. This one says, so many words, so many useless descriptions. So I can kind of get that to a point. I mean, like, yes, Walter Moore's can seem very verbose at times. His writing can be very thick, I think. One thing I like about him, though, reading his books, and this goes for all of them really, it seems like reading Walter Moore's, like I never come across the same word twice. And I know that's not true because, I mean, there would be lots of words I come across twice, like the, and but, and so on. But I don't know, it just felt like reading the City of Dreaming books, as well as a few other of his books, that his vocabulary is just so deep, and it's like, I don't know. So yes, I definitely get to a point. His writing can be thick. It can be overly descriptive, and he can definitely like get lost in just describing everything about creatures and backstory that, it may be important, it may not be important. So that is the thing with Walter Moore's. But still, I thought overall the writing was just amazing, and I loved it. And the world building was great. All the like fantastic creatures in every little corner and crevice was just great. All the backstory he threw in, it was just great. So I'm not a big fan of fantasy, but even I like this book. I do not much like fantasy, and this is my favorite book of all time. And it's a real like fantastic series with a lot of fantastic creatures everywhere. So I don't know, that should just show you how great this book is. If me, not a fan of fantasy, like I cannot generally get into fantasy, this is my favorite book of all time. So that alone just should tell you that you should at least give the book a try. Walter Moore's The City of Dreaming books. go ahead and buy a copy, I would say. Do not get it on Kindle or whatever. Buy a copy. Make sure it's in English though, because there are German versions, because this is a German writer. So yeah, that is about it. So anyway, I'm going to move over to the middle. Yay, back to the middle. Anyway, so as you guys will know, these are all definitely books I recommend. The City of Dreaming books by Walter Moores, The Sweet Hereafter by Russell Banks, The Princess Bride by William Goldman, and what was the other book I reviewed? Oh, Gail Honeyman. Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine. So I love all of those books. Do not listen to the critics. Be patient with all these books. I love them. And if you've watched my channel before, you should know I am a pretty picky reader. And so if I like books, that should tell you something. Maybe I'm just a bad judge of character, but I don't think so. I think I'm right here. These are great books. Everyone in the world should read them. So if you have not read any of these books, go out and buy them. Do not borrow them from the library. Do not get them as ebooks. Buy them. Buy the print version and keep them. I don't actually have a copy of The Princess Bride myself, so I need to get that. Anyway, that will do it for this video. I'm sorry there are not like quite enough 1-star reviews. I was kind of hoping there would be a few more, but that's kind of all I saw. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you in another video. Bye.